the crypto curator back at you one more time this week. This is going to be Bitcoin is freedom. Folks, guess what? Bitcoin does a lot more than you could ever imagine. But before I start talking about Bitcoin being freedom, let's talk about what's powering this show, and that's Roundly X. Listen, folks, do you want $4 in Bitcoin? Remember, Andreas Antonopoulos said it's better to earn Bitcoin than to buy Bitcoin. So you could earn $4 in Bitcoin by doing one simple thing. Going checking out Roundly X. Listen, not only are you going to check out Bitcoin and check out Roundly X, it's amazing. When you connect your credit card to their platform, anytime you use your credit or debit card, they round up your purchase in Satoshis. That's right. It makes it super simple, super easy. It runs in the background. You never have to worry about it again. One step, connect your credit card or your debit card, and guess what? Forget about it. You might not believe it, but you might come back years later to find out that you have a lot of Satoshis. You might even be a Satoshi millionaire by that time. Wouldn't you like that? All right, let's get on with the show.
Here we go.
Let's get started.
All right, folks. Again, as I said, this is Paul McNeil, the crypto curator. I curate news information every day, except for Sunday. I do my show. And the reason that I do that is to give you and to give myself mostly an overview of what's really happening in the space. There's so much news that happens on a daily basis. It's hard to keep track of a lot of what's going on. Some of these things are really big stories, and because there's so many of them, some of them get lost in the wash, so to speak. So what I'm here to do is to highlight what happened this week, and that way it's going to help you see what's going on. And hey, maybe you'll make some decisions because of it, but let me preface this by saying I cannot provide you any financial advice. Anything you hear from this show should be used for informational purposes only. I'm here to inform you, to raise your awareness, and that's about it. If you begin to make buying decisions or putting your hard-earned money into something that I've told you about, I would advise you don't do that. I'm only here trying to help you see what's going on. As a matter of fact, I like to say I want you to read what I read, watch what I watch, and listen to what I listen to. All right, Roundly X, the show is also powered by a few other really, really good things. And the reason that I want to talk about these is because they do have impact in your life. Listen, I'm a big coffee drinker. I love coffee. But what the brothers, Jimmy, Jordan, Jake, has done with Super Coffee is amazing. This stuff is with a lot of goodness, so to speak. Organic Colombian coffee beans, whey protein, coconut oil for MCTs, and it's sweetened with monk fruit. So it's a very, very powerful coffee. As a matter of fact, it's positive. So go check out drinksupercoffee.com and you can get you some super coffee. I checked out Kite. I made a trip recently, and you know, desk or else you find some other way of getting a ride from the airport or renting a car. It makes it super easy. How? Bring the car to you and they pick the car at a location that you decide. Super, super easy. And by checking them out, you can get $50 off your Kite rental. Unchained Capital, folks, guess what? This is amazing. Instead of you worrying about what happens if you die and lose your Bitcoin, Unchained makes that simple. Why? They keep a key, you keep a key, and you give a loved one a key. It takes 2 of the 3 keys to move your Bitcoin. That's right, 2 of your 3 keys moves your Bitcoin. Check out Unchained. I think you'll love it. Lastly, I want you guys healthy. Forward is in the doctor's office. In fact, I'm going to get my blood drawn tomorrow so that I can have my follow-up with my doctor, and they're going to do a virtual meeting with me over all of my, make sure I'm living, I can live. Go check out Go Forward. All right, let's get on with the good stuff. So on Monday, news broke that, and this is funny, I think we might have the wrong slide, but let me get Nick to switch that one up 1 second. And yeah, I think he's going to pull up that other one. So on Monday, we know how China against Bitcoin, right? We know they hate Bitcoin. We know that they own stablecoin called, or not stablecoin, BDC, digital yuan or whatever you want to call it. And they and all the miners, China's done all this stuff against Bitcoin, right? And they hate Bitcoin. But it's funny, very funny, that China intelligence officers actually tried to bribe a US official using Bitcoin. How crazy is that, right? That was the biggest story of the day. As a matter of fact, let me look over on on Monday, 7 different publications covered the story. It was a hot story all day. Let me read on the subtitles on the story. The two officers tried in a U.S. official with $61,000 in Bitcoin. That's about three Bitcoin, to help them support what up to be Huawei. That's right. Huawei is a telecom company. They were trying to bribe them to use that. So that was really, really crazy. My connection might be a little bit weak, but I'm going to see it. Hopefully, you guys will be able to hear me just fine. And I'll keep going. And if you guys can't hear me for some reason, let me know. All right. So, one about on Monday is that the price of Bitcoin, price is not all that, but the prior week, we had been pretty much a stable coin, right? Bitcoin was trading around $19,000, right? It stayed within that $19,000 range. And it seemed like it was never going to move. It didn't really drop below it, didn't really go above it. And then on Monday, it was still trading about $19,000, 345. And so, but we started seeing some movement late on Friday evening, and it seemed like the price was going to start moving. If you can remember, we had sort of turned the month for October into Uptober, but it really been going up, right? It's been pretty much stable. So as we jumped over to Tuesday, again, we got another big story. And again, this story was something interesting because it was about, and this is another theme that's been going on throughout the month of October. It seems like there's been a lot of movement in people, right? In these companies, a lot of people shuffling in and out. Well, BitMEX CEO Alexander Hopner from Crypto Futures Exchange, which makes CFO Stephen Lutz is going to take over from in the interim. So the reason that he that was one for BitMEX, but on BitCom as well. See, and this is how many people were getting in trouble. Their founder got 8 years in jail for $70 million fraud. So not only did we have the BitMEX CEO stepping down, we had the BitCom founder actually getting 8-year jail term for $70 million in fraud. A lot of things are going on with these top officials in these crypto companies. And if you can remember last week, we sort of talked about Elizabeth Warren and some of the other Democrats were talking about how crypto company executives are going to, how regulators are going to crypto companies. And I think some of this could be as a result of this. Some of the regulators, the high experienced executives, officials in these regulatory firms are starting over to crypto firms. And then they're talking revolving, right? They're going back and forth. This might help us out some. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we know that October has, in addition to the stuff like this, the BitMEX CEO and stuff, the BitCom founder, we're starting to see that it's Hacktober as well. A lot of crazy things. You know what? Tomorrow is Halloween. This is spooky. Maybe this is just a spooky month and it's time for stuff like this to happen. Now, the price of Bitcoin did jump up for us. We saw the price of Bitcoin get to, what was it, about $20,000, I believe it was. $20,095. So right over 20,000. Now, we've seen Bitcoin move above 20,000 several times, right? And it gets rejected and moves above it and gets rejected. Will it stay this time? Let's take a look and see. So on Wednesday, we saw it get completely wrecked, right? $1 billion in shorts. As a matter of fact, it's the most since that this is the price on went bananas. And not only with Bitcoin, and this is Bitcoin is freedom, and that's what I want to talk about. We know some of the other assets had a lot more appreciated in Bitcoin, right? And so sometimes we like to call that alt season. We're not even close to that yet, but that's what happens when the alt Bitcoin, we call it alt season. Bitcoin still has great appreciation during the same times, but so one of the things I do is the event of late have also data from the popular cryptocurrency analytics resource CryptoCoin reveals that this is the highest number of Bitcoin that have shorts that's gotten liquidated. So it's been a crazy time on Wednesday, and a lot of people, the sentiment began to shift, right? You started seeing more people start giving again these long-term predictions. They started saying that this is the time for the run to happen. This is October, what we've been talking about. All of a sudden, we're going to have the Santa Claus rally. All of these things are starting to be talked about, except for one. That is our good friend. Now, Peter Brand is still a long-term bull. He made that statement, but he also is incredibly short-term bearish. He actually said he thinks we will see $13,000 Bitcoin. Here's the thing with Bitcoin, and as you guys see, I'm wearing my Don't Fight the Fib shirt, Fibbo Swanee. He's talked a lot about this. It's psychology. It's hard to actually sell when the market's going up, and it's hard to buy when the market's going down. Will this little rally we see continue on and grow and keep going? A lot of us hope so, but don't get hooked on the hopium, because here's what could happen. We could see this little relief rally happen, and then before you know it, complete disaster hits. We know that the Fed FOMC meeting is coming up soon. So if that meeting does come up and some bad news comes, the market very well could fall, leaving a lot of people wrecked once again. Only this time, it'll be the bulls that's wrecked, not the bears that's wrecked. So again, this is not trading advice. This is not financial advice. This is you to determine what you do. All right, let's look over at Thursday. We're going to check out, it seems like, again, this has just been a bad month for news, right? Seems like it's been a month for news. This time, and I think that Coinbase refutes claim of testing proprietary. That I think we actually had before, but this Thursday, we also found out that coin miner Core Scientific, their shares plummeted after bankruptcy warning. That was really horrible, because what we're possibly seeing is, can we see more of the large publicly traded miners tank? And there might be a potential that they could be in trouble. If Core Scientific was in trouble, who else is in trouble that we don't know yet? Now, how much of an impact will this have on Bitcoin? I don't believe it's going to have much on the price, and I don't think it's going to have much overall. Why? Because news report came out and said that Core Scientific actually isn't holding that much Bitcoin. They sold a lot of their Bitcoin. Could that selling be what have kept us in this low sort of stable coin range? I think it could be. The continued selling pressure of miners is what could be keeping the price of Bitcoin down. Now, we know miners sell Bitcoin to fund their operation, but when they're in positions like Core Scientific, it can get really disastrous. Now, will there be an acquisition? I was talking to some folks on Telegram about this, and there might not be an acquisition of other miners trying to acquire Core Scientific, because it just doesn't make sense. A private equity firm might wind up acquiring them, somewhere of that nature. So as we look at the price, though, the price stayed what? Actually, a little bit of the same, actually went up a little bit more from where it was the day before. So we're seeing that even though a lot of this bad news, and it has been bad news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Just bad news all around. Here's the thing, though, don't get caught up on this kind of bad news. Why? Now, this is what's getting the most coverage and the most press. I'll talk about some of the other things that are going on that you might be not aware of, that you should be aware of, because when you look at the sentiment and when you look at the activity that's going on in the space, and when you look at the money, it's all flowing into digital assets and crypto asset projects. So these is just what's grabbing the media's attention right now, and we have to be careful. All right, let's jump over to Friday. We rounded the week up. We saw that Ripple, for the very first time, owns now 50% less of their XRP holdings. So you remember Ripple, they printed 100 billion XRP, and every month they were letting go 1 billion XRP into the system, right? That process has now gotten them down below 50% holding of the total XRP. This is the first time this has happened. Now, with that, they're claiming that they're more decentralized. Hey, look, guys, we're more decentralized. And this is a common topic that happens with Ripple. They're saying things like, people like to say, Ripple centralized, Ripple's controlled, yada, yada. From my understanding of what happens with Ripple, and you do need to understand this, is that while Ripple does node operators, they do not control. It's, believe it or not, Ripple is the Fed, right? It's like the government and the Fed. The government, the president, gets to choose who the Fed chair is, but he has absolutely no control of the Fed chair whatsoever. A lot of people would say that's still centralized. Is it centralized if the node operators can go do whatever they want to do and run things how they want to run them? What happens if the company Ripple goes away? Will XRP still exist, and will it still run just fine? And will there be any problems? It will. So is Ripple truly the central entity that controls the XRP asset? Again, I know there's a lot of debate over this. A lot of people will probably tell me I'm incorrect. Just from my understanding and just from the way that I read it, it looks like they're not as centralized as people would like to think that they are. Now, all the node operators, could they get together and be centralized? Maybe. Could they get together and conspire? I don't know, and change the ledger and change how things operate. Again, I'm getting way out over my skis on this because I know nothing of the deep technical knowledge of XRP and Ripple, but that's something that I would definitely encourage you guys to take a look into if that's something you're interested in. Now, if we look at the price again, staying in that $20,000 range, hasn't dropped out. As a matter of fact, Bitcoin right now, let me check, is currently trading right around 20,732. So we're still looking pretty good right now. Could we see a pop tomorrow morning if the traditional markets continue to rally? I think we possibly could, but that's not. Now, again, we know that the broader assets are doing pretty good as well right now. So if you're paying attention to this market, and this is what I told everybody in my blog, if you are a investor, forget all this nonsense. A lot of this, you can listen to it just for information purposes and be aware of what's going on. Do not let that impact your investments. If you're a trader, you might want to pay really close attention to what's going on right now, because the market forces could, once again, I believe it was Alessio Rastani who said that we could see ourselves run up, but how we run up is important, because if it's an ABC wave, and this is Elliott wave, and I'm again, don't want to get over my skis, ABC wave, that's really bad. If it's a 5-wave correction, then that's really good. And so you want to pay attention to what's happening now into the end of the year. This next little run up could make a lot of changes. Now, I do want to talk about some of the other things, because like I said, most of the most covered news was not so great, right? But if we jump back to Monday, what else was going on besides these Chinese intelligence officials bribe U.S. officials? Well, the other two, FTX is going to give a one-time $6 million compensation to the victims. Remember that story? The fish with FTX, $6 million. It says Sam Bankman-Fried has said that this is the last time that he will compensate users for phishing. And you have to understand that's a lot of money, right? So if he's constantly compensating, constantly correcting, those guys will run out of money at some point. I mean, he's a billionaire. Sam Bankman-Fried is not a poor man, right? But I think it's important that we don't start thinking that this is going to happen all the time. Now, beside that, we also see that Binance USD supply surges as stablecoin wars heat up. We know that BUSD is actually starting to move up the ranks. Below now, it's at position number 7. So again, stable coins and what's going on with politics are interesting, because within the top 10 digital assets, 3 of them are stable coins. We have UST, Tether. There we go. And we've got Circle, USDC, and now we got Binance USD. So we've got a lot of stable coins right now that's in the top 10. And this is why I think the regulators are starting to really look at that. In addition, as I talked about on Bitcoin and politics, next week on Thursday, I'm going to be talking about a lot of the politicians and candidates who support Bitcoin. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. On Tuesday, beside the BitMEX CEO stepping down, we also see that the Bitcoin price crossed $20,000. We did see that one, and nearly half of the young people want crypto exposure in their 401ks. Remember that it was Fidelity who first came out and pushed the issue about 401ks, you being able to put Bitcoin in them. Now you're starting to see Charles Schwab come out and say the same thing. The trend is going such that the on-ramps are continuing to open up. And if the on-ramps keep opening up for more money to flow over to digital assets, price will appreciate. If you remember the great formula is 21 million fixed supply of Bitcoin plus massive demand equals number goes up. That was Robert Breedlove, right? So if you're looking at this asset, and this is what I say, if you're a trader, you might want to pay attention. If you're an investor, stack your sats and hold them, right? Stack your sats and hold them. Why? Because over time, the asset is going to appreciate. I tell people this all the time. Bitcoin, back when it first came out, it was $0. And then it slowly began to appreciate. Today, Bitcoin is $20,000, 700. So that time frame, at 13, Bitcoin's going to be 14 years old tomorrow. By the way, Bitcoin's birthday is October 31st. So tomorrow, Bitcoin turns 14 years old, and we see the price go from $0 to $20,000. There's not another asset on the planet that has had that type of appreciation. So this should tell you something. If you're new to Bitcoin and you happen to buy at 20,000 today and you wait 14 years, I know a lot of time, most of you are like, I can't wait 14 years. Yes, you can. We all wait 14 years. Wait 14 years. Will the price of Bitcoin have appreciated greater than that? Absolutely. And I believe you're going to see huge numbers. So in 14 years, we're going to be looking at what? We'll be looking at 2028. And so if we're looking at 2020, no, more than 2028. What am I talking about? 2038. Yeah, 2038. It's wait, no, I can't get my numbers right. Today is 2020, 2022. So we're looking at 36. Sorry. So 2036. By the year 2036, they're saying that Bitcoin will definitely have appreciated to well over $1 million. So if you're buying today and Bitcoin would have appreciated to over $1 million, that's not a bad return, right? All right. On Wednesday, the other big stories that we had was UK lawmakers. They voted to include crypto rules and finance regulation and Stone Ridge accelerator program. Remember Stone Ridge, NYDIG? They actually had a partnership. They were the ones that were bringing more people, more companies into Bitcoin by helping them out, particularly the banks, to be able to custody digital assets. What you don't understand is that now Stone Ridge is starting an accelerator program. So they started working with the banks, making it possible for them to custody crypto. Now they're going to make it possible for other companies to speed up their growth. You don't see the activity of that right now, but you will see the activity of that in another 15, 24 months. When we look back, we're going to go, wow, that was a big deal. But it didn't sound like a big deal. Stone Ridge launches an accelerator program for Bitcoin. And this is not for all crypto, it's for Bitcoin. Again, there is a difference. Bitcoin, then there's the other trending stories that we had, of course. I will pause on that one, and I will give of institutions plan to buy crypto. And this is from Fidelity. So you got Charles Schwab, who's saying that young people want to put their money into crypto via 401ks. You've got Stone Ridge starting an accelerator program, and now you're looking at 74% of institutions plan to buy crypto. Remember, back before we had a huge run up to 69,000, we heard a lot about institutions are coming, the herd is coming, and we didn't see what that was. And Michael Novogratz had been saying that time and time again. We get this huge run up, right? I think this is going to happen once again. If 74% of these institutions, now if you're starting to talk about it in the news, I learned this back in the day. Anytime you read something in the news, the people that's involved, they knew about way before it broke in the news. So I think a lot of these institutions are already in. I think they're already bought, and now they're going to wait and they're going to start pumping up the price. And as they pump up the price, you're going to. So take note of that. On Thursday, I believe it is. No, on Friday, the other trending stories that we had was about Visa, right? And there you can see it right there. Actually, my website shows you all the trending stories. Talks about Visa, talks about XRP, and talks about the little Dogecoin, little Doji dog. And I avoided sort of talking about it, but it's hard not to talk about Doge. Why? Because Doge popped like 50%. Doge trading at right now? Let me tell you guys. And I want to avoid talking about that a little, but I can't help it. Yeah, it's still up 17% right now. So again, this is the Bitcoin's Freedom Show. It's not the Doge Show, so I won't talk about that much more. But here's the thing: Bitcoin and what it has created. Because without Bitcoin, Doge wouldn't exist. All this other stuff wouldn't exist, right? What has been created, it does provide us true freedom. Why? Money, they say time is money. And if you've ever seen that movie, and I give credit to Anthony Pompliano for putting this one on my radar, it's called In Time. It actually has Justin Timberlake. And I know, sorry, it is a good movie. It tells you in a show of time and money. So if you have a lot of time, and just the way you say, well, how does that work? Because if you're not worried about money and it needs, you don't have to, quote unquote, work as hard or use that time working. You can use that time being very creative. And this is where I believe the wealthy shifts and the people that are poor don't. When you have all of your basic needs met, guess what happens? You're able to freely think, create, relax. And in this particular movie, the people that had the most time were the people that were leisurely walking around enjoying themselves. The people that didn't have that much time, they were constantly on the go, running from place to place to place. And you could always tell the poor from the rich. I won't give too much of that movie away. I'll let you guys definitely check it out. It's a good one. I think I might even go back and watch it again myself. Here's what I'm saying. Bitcoin does that for you. Bitcoin frees you up. Why? Because big numbers, as I said before, it goes up right now. It depends on the time frame. If you have Bitcoin from today to tomorrow, you might be in trouble. But if you need to stack your sats and you get that egg of Bitcoin, this is what we do. This is not new. We've been doing this with 401ks forever, right? This is what people do. They work. They save their money in their 401ks. They save money in their company's investments. And over time, they have that quote unquote nest egg. When they get in their later years, they're able to do exactly what the people do in this show. Leisurely walk around from place to place. Wealthy people, you watch them, life is easy, right? For the most of them, if they planned out right. So here's the thing, Bitcoin can let you do that, but for the average person, right? These Satoshis that you're stacking, they can one day, maybe one day, I don't know this for certain, become worth $1. If a Satoshi is $1, you very well might find yourself in a really good place. And so with our current money system, you're starting to see how they erode your purchasing power. They're eroding your money, they're stealing from you because this is the way it works. But when you have Bitcoin, that's not the case, right? Your money goes for this. As a matter of fact, there was an article that came out, I think it might have been last week, that was comparing the Bitcoin to the dollar, comparing Bitcoin to gold, comparing Bitcoin to everything else, and Bitcoin outperformed them all in this current environment. And that's what you want to be looking for when you're looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin frees up the way that we think. It gets us out of this spend mindset to a saver's mindset and an investor's mindset. Anybody involved in Bitcoin, they start learning things like how to save, how to invest, right? This is just what it does. It sort of changes the wiring in your brain, if you ask me, and it helps you out a lot. I believe Bitcoin can also help make you a better person overall. And a lot of you know that I'm huge into personal development, and that's what I want to encourage. I think the more that we have resources, and I say that intentionally, the more we have resources, the better off we feel. And the better we feel, I think, the better we treat other people. And the better we treat other people, the better our world becomes. Bitcoin does all of this. It is not just about making money. That's one aspect of what Bitcoin can do. It's about a lot. So here's what I want you guys to do. If you're not already following me, definitely follow me on Twitter. And from Twitter, you're going to be able to connect with me everywhere else, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's on our great YouTube show, which is Bitcoin Live. We have just now relaunched this on YouTube. Please go subscribe, follow us, like us, leave me comments on the videos, do all of that for us. Why? Because that's the way we're able to keep bringing you these great shows. Round the X again, is the sponsor that makes this show possible. And you guys should go check them out. Use Bitcoin is Freedom as the code. They'll give you $4 in Bitcoin, and that's going to help you keep stacking sats, right? Andreas Antonopoulos says better to earn them. Earn your Bitcoin. That way you're not having to pay for your Bitcoin. Every day I earn Bitcoin, either through an affiliate program, which huge advocate of a lot of the influence affiliate programming. They all have links that you can click that if you participate with the brand, they get credit and you get credit. That's the best way to do it. So Roundly X is one of them. Check them out and let them help you stack your sats. Hey, Nick, thank you once again for producing the show. I want to thank you guys for listening to this show. Guess what, folks? This is Sunday and my Cowboys are going to be playing. They're going to be playing the Bears. So hopefully we can crush those Bears the way Bitcoin is crushing those Bears and be victorious. And if we don't win, hey, it's football, right? All right, everybody, you guys have a great Sunday, and thank you for tuning in.